Aloha mora, y'all, and welcome to another episode of Overly Summarized History. As always, I'm your anchor, Emily Faint, and today we will be talking about the infamous Salem witch trials. So, first question of the day, what were the Salem witch trials? And that's a good question, one that requires just as good of an answer. And even I, the all-seeing and all-knowing anchor of Overly Summarized History, is not very well versed on. So we shall go to our very reliable, very applicable friend, Wikipedia. Now, they say that the Salem witch trials were, and I quote, a series of hearings and prosecutions of people accused of witchcraft in colonial Massachusetts between February 1692 and May 1693. Okay, so a bunch of people were accused of witchcraft, sentenced to death for alleged crimes. Reading here, it says that 200 people were accused, 30 people were found guilty, 14 women and 5 men sentenced to death by the noose, and at least 5 folks died while in custody, and this one dude named Giles Corey was pressed to death for refusing to testify guilty. What a time to be alive, huh? Okay, second question. Who was involved in the Salem witch trials? In order to answer that, we have to do some background checks. Before the witch trials began in Massachusetts, hysteria in England and in the rest of Europe was already beginning to tone down around witches. However, in the British colonies of the New World, hysteria was breaking out over the existence of demons, angels, and, obviously, witches. Because of the ousting of King Charles II of England, who was a very prominent Catholic, mind you, the Protestant co-rulers of England, Mary and William, took the throne, which allowed for a new form of Christianity worship to emerge, the Puritans. Under the lax religious charters of Mary and William, the Puritans expanded and eventually began to hold political and public offices, as well as religious parts in the communities. Massachusetts was a particularly religious colony back in the day, and so Puritan law was set up to keep citizens in line. When women, and even some men, didn't meet the status quo of Puritan law, they were deemed punishable, and if they seemed it, could be sentenced to death on charges of witchcraft. Bridget Bishop was the first person to be tried and executed for being in league with the devil, and she met her end on June 10, 1692. Martha Corey, who was then with 7 other supposed witches, was one of the last people to be hung in Salem for the crime of witchcraft. Okay, final question. What is the legacy of the Salem witch trials? Not only did the trials have a psychological effect on America, it also had a legal one too. The trials were conducted very poorly and carried out with little to no evidence, leading to the murder of dozens and the accusations of even those of Dorothy Good, who was a 4-year-old at the time. Because of these horrendous court proceedings, changes were implemented, leading to rights to legal representation and cross-examination of evidence. But perhaps the most important change to the judicial procedure was the addition of the mentality innocent until proven guilty. Well, that's all the time we have here for today, folks. If any of y'all want to go into more depth about this particular topic, there's a play written by Arthur Miller called The Crucible, and it portrays a dramatized depiction of the Salem witch trials. Very highly recommended. Y'all should go check it out. In the meantime, y'all should keep your eyes and ears open for our next videos on future topics. I hope you learned something new and was able to take something away from this. As always, I'm your host, Emily Faint, and this is Overly Summarized Histories.